Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever. Whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. What started as the beginning of an exciting school year quickly turned tragic at the Annunciation Catholic School mass shooting in Minneapolis last week. 2 children were killed and 21 others injured when a gunman opened fire and shot through windows of the school's church while children participated in morning mass. School shootings are an unfortunate reality that parents have to have hard conversations about protection and processing emotions. Up next on Another View, how to have those conversations with compassion and without fear. Another View is next, right after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamley. Before we get started, of course, I got to tell you about something happening in the community. The Alumni Association of Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, Coastal Virginia chapter, cordially invites you to attend their HBCU's Thurgood Marshall Unity Prayer Breakfast on Saturday, September the 20th from 10 until 1. It's at the Kroc Center on Ballantyne Boulevard in Norfolk. Another View Roundtable pundit, Dr. Will Leveist, will be the keynote speaker at the scholarship fundraiser. Tickets are available. And if you want more information, you can call 804-314-0271 or 757-903-9916. And it will be down. He'll be talking, and I think it will be a fabulous event if you'd like to go. So according to the K-12 school database, nationwide, there were 146 shooting incidents at schools, including the latest one in Minneapolis. School violence can happen at any school. So how do we talk to young people about them without causing stress and fear? Here with some advice is Kirsten A. High. She's a licensed professional counselor with the E3 Center who specializes in child and family therapy. How are you, Kirsten?
Hello, Barbara. I'm doing well.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have by phone Dwayne Bryant. He's been a guest on Another View before. He's an international speaker, best-selling author, educational consultant, trainer, and alumni of the FBI Citizens Academy. How you doing, Dwayne?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I know that we caught you kind of in the middle of a lot of things that you have going on. So we are very excited that you're able to join us. So before we get started, guys, I want to play a clip because one of the things that struck me about the Minneapolis shooting last week was the calmness of the students that they interviewed. I wanted you to take a listen to a clip by Weston Halsney. Now, he's a 5th grader at Annunciation Catholic Church.
Well, we waited like 10 to 5 minutes. I don't really know. And then we went to the gym, and then the doors locked just to make sure he didn't come. And we waited in the gym for more news. And everyone was okay. Or most people were okay.
Who are your friend, Wes?
My friend got hit in the back.
Did he go to the hospital?
Yeah, he went to the hospital.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was super scared for him, but I think now he's okay.
Kirsten,
Wow.
are you surprised? I mean, they sound so like, yeah, this happened, but okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Is that a normal reaction to something that traumatic?
You know, kids are resilient. They are super strong, way more than what we would think they would be. I'm surprised that he was as poised as he was, considering everything that went on. I know shock is a real thing.
That was the other question I was going to ask. Do you think
Yeah.
he was in shock? Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was in shock. But also with him being a fifth grader, he just he was more poised than I thought he would be, considering what he went through. But he's at a point in his life where he's possibly very concrete in their thinking, and maybe the emotion of it all hasn't hit him, which is a form of shock, but also, just him relaying the facts of what happened. And so that is heartbreaking to hear for me as a mother, and as a counselor. But it's the reality of the times that we're in, unfortunately.
Dwayne, one of the things that we in the Black community in particular, we've talked about this before, where we have to have the talk, where we were talking about dealing with police and how to behave and so forth. And now we have to have another talk, and it really crosses all racial lines, and that has to do with school shootings and so forth. What are you hearing from people as you talk with young people?
Sure. And what's funny is I'm at a school right now in Tennessee. I just came out of the building to take a break. What's amazing is today's children literally take active shooting drills, where when we were in school, we took fire drills and maybe tornado drills. Right. An active shooter drill was not even in our consciousness to take. So one reason it's possible that the young man was so calm is because they've taken active shooter drills. These young people have seen school shootings. I think there's been over 420 since 1988 or something like that. 44 different school shootings this year alone. So it's almost like the more you see something, the more you ingest something, the more normal it becomes. So it is possible that the normality of all of this is no reason to panic and to be hyped up because it's normal. And I think that is a travesty to our young people, that seeing killings, seeing students being slaughtered at school when they should be learning, and even at church in the Minneapolis case, is a terrible condition that America doesn't seem to care about.
Yeah. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. We really want to hear from you. If you have had conversations with your children about being in an active shooter situation, be it in school or be it just in society in general, if you have experienced having school lockdowns in your children, we'd love to hear how your children reacted and how you spoke with them about that. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So, Kirsten, we know that this is happening. How early do we need to start having this conversation? And what should parents think about as they prepare to have it?
I would say as early as maybe 2 to 3 years old, when they start understanding a little bit and start talking a little bit, that's very young, but still they're going to be possibly in daycare or around other kids or in facilities where we can't get directly to them if something happens. And so ages 2 to 3, elementary school age, is a good time. And so when you're having the conversation, it's important to let them know about, what's going on in the world, as far as what they can understand. We talk to them about, there are bad things that happen, from a level where they understand it. And those things can include, you being in harm's way and mommy and daddy not being able to get to you. And so if that happens, you need to listen to your teacher or the person who's guiding you at that time. It could be the principal or, your school teacher at the time. And so listen to them. They'll take you to where you need to go. So first and foremost, teaching them to follow directions, listening to an adult, if I'm not around or if your dad's not around. And then just understanding as they get a little bit older, you can talk to them about, like, for instance, I was sharing with you earlier with my daughter, after the holiday, 4th of July, you hear all the fireworks. It kept going after the 4th of July in our neighborhood. And so I explained to her, sometimes hearing fireworks can sound like gunshots. And so if you hear those sounds. And, at any time, and it's not the holiday per se, and we're not watching fireworks, get down on the floor. Because you never know if something can come through the house or come through your bedroom window. And my daughter's 7, and I had to have this conversation with her. She wasn't 2 or 3, but I did have a situation with her when she was a lot younger, where we were actually in a mall, and we had to, there was shooting going on in the mall, and they had to escort us to another part of the mall because of the violence going on. So she experienced it young. She was in a stroller, so she was probably about 1.5 during this time. Wow. But at age 7, jumping back to, a few months ago, there was a time fireworks kept going, and it was after the 4th. So I came in her room, and she was laying on the floor. And I was like, why are you on the floor? And she said, Mommy, you told me to get on the floor if I hear sounds that sound like gunshots.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it break your heart that you have to at a 7-year-old have to hear that?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking because it warmed my heart that she listened, but it hurt my heart that I have my child on the floor because, that there's a reality that there could be gunshots, in our neighborhood. So.
And as kids get older, do you talk to them also about what to look out for? Do you talk to them about how they can be involved maybe in some preventive actions or things of that nature? I mean, I guess the conversation escalates as the child gets older.
Yes, as the child gets older, you do talk with them about preparing to be safe, to know your surroundings, to, if you're in a school or in a public place, to know the exits, where they are, and to know who's safe to talk to. Like a policeman, or if you're in a educational setting, your teacher or the security guard, just being aware of your surroundings and following the directions of the school safety plan.
Going on. Dwayne, when you're talking to young people, do they say they're worried about violence in school or elsewhere?
So here's what's interesting, right? My schools range from the very top, the number 1 charter school in the state of Illinois, Southland College Prep, to another school that I cannot even mention. But these students are shooters. They are the ones who are incarcerated. They are the ones who may take a gun in a backpack, not at a school to shoot, because they're not interested in that, but it's more like street justice or things of that nature. So it's a range of mentality with the students that I work with across the country. I don't think most of the students look at carrying a gun as a viable option of just walking every day. But there are some who believe that they must carry a gun to get to and fro school or wherever they may be going in the community as a sense of defense, as a sense of maybe offense, depending on what's going on. So it's kind of depending on what state I'm in, what group of students I'm talking to. But I don't think any of them, whether it's the shooter school or the students where everyone gets merit-based scholarships to college, I don't think any of them believe that walking into a school shooting children just because is okay.
I tell you, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. We're talking about how you talk to your young people about school shootings. And I want to read an email that we received this morning. It says, "Hello, Barbara. I hope this finds you well. Thank you for doing the show today." She said she wanted me to know that she is Catholic and the school shooting hit close to home. Just some background. One of my former high school classmates from Norfolk Catholic High School was a victim of the 2023 Walmart shooting. My husband is an alumnus of Virginia Tech, and my son was in 1st grade, the same age as the children when Sandy Hook happened. My youngest daughter was in the 4th grade when Uvalde happened, the same age as the children who died. So that's just her background. Her entire family has been affected. She says, "I have worked for the Catholic Church here in Hampton Roads for the past 23 years in essentially the realm of social justice and learned about the talk African-American parents must have with their kids through my racial justice work. Now, as you mentioned, the new talk doesn't discriminate. This is what I tell my 13-year-old daughter and 19-year-old special needs son. It's run, hide, fight. I reiterate calmly the following from time to time and explain that this is the reality and that they must be prepared. She says, for example, at Mass, if there's an active shooter and we are in the pews, get under the pews. And if you have the hymnals in hand, cover your head. If my daughter is altar serving, try to run out the side or hide behind the altar. If you are at the mall, know where the exits are. Stores are required to have back exits. Head to the back and run to safety or hide. In school, although in lockdown drills they do not do this, in the event of an active shooter, push anything heavy in front of the door, bookcases, desks, etc., and hide to buy time. When we are in the car, if I yell, get down, they need to get down and away from the windows. This is the talk I have with my kids. She has done a comprehensive across the board, no matter where you find yourself. Is that where we are?
That's where we are. And that's very good, very detailed, very specific. There's no time to play around and think. I love that run, hide, know your exits, fight. Run, hide, and fight is what she said. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she said. Is that advice also that you're familiar with, Dwayne? Run, hide, fight?
Yeah, that is very comprehensive. The only thing, though, is when you're running, do you always know where the gunman is? Do you know how many gunmen there are? Usually it's only one, but if it's multiple, you could be running to the gunshot. So I think that advice is definitely proactive. I think it is very aware and informative, but it's not 100% foolproof because you could very well be running into the hallway where the gunner is. When we look at different shootings, Uvalde, there were several children killed. Stoneman Douglas in Florida, several children who were killed, and some of them may very well have been running. Many of the schools are telling the students, close the door, push the desk over in front of the door, hide, stay in the room, do not go out, do not run, but, be quiet, hunker down, and just wait for the shooting to stop in hopes that law enforcement will be there within minutes to be able to neutralize the situation. In a mall, that's a different situation. There's no classroom. I say, which way are the people running from? Don't be the hero and run in the opposite direction. If they running to the right, you run to the right and keep going as well. So there's some sense to that, but it's still, everything we're talking about is still causes. No one still is addressing the root problem, which is Congress. When I talk to children, I will let them know, hey, I want to apologize to you because our adults who run this country in the legislative branch, Congress, Senate, et cetera, do not have the courage to pass comprehensive gun laws. We've had assault rifles banned in 94 that has lapsed, but we don't want to bring it back in. When you look at these mass shootings, usually there's an assault rifle. There's an AR-15 that's somewhere. Why do we need assault rifles in the hands of families, in the hands of children?
Yeah.
We don't need it.
Yeah. So if a parent and child find themselves in the situation, what is the best way? Once it happens, how do you deal with the child and their emotions? And then what should you be looking for later on? Because it, like we were saying with the young man, maybe the shock of it hasn't kicked in terms of the rest of his emotions about it. So what should you do if you find yourself in that situation?
Well, I would tell parents, if your child has been in this situation, to listen to them, to empathize, to give them the space to emote. If they're crying and it's making you uncomfortable, you have just deal with that, because this is very serious. It's very scary for children. And so make the space for them to share their emotions. Also, don't minimize or rush them through the emotional process, and to be patient, because trauma comes with a lot of different behaviors from children. And some of that could be reverting back a little bit developmentally.
Like if you have a 5-year-old, they might start wetting the bed again, that kind of thing?
Yes, exactly. Wetting the bed, wanting to sleep with you, wanting to be close to you. having temper tantrums, because trauma is so damaging to us in a way. It's damaging in how we think and how we process, and our nervous system becomes shaken up. And so you're a little person who's still developing. It really devastates them. So making space, not minimizing their emotions. Oh, just get over it. Oh, stop crying already. Not doing those things, but making space and hearing them, and also encouraging them. This is not your fault. And some may say, why would you say that? But children internalize things.
So some children think I did something bad and this is why this is bad that is happening to me.
Yeah, some children do feel like that. I would say more times than not, because their lens is, children can be very self-centered and just they're developmentally. So what did I do to cause this to happen? Did I not listen to my teacher? Or, was it something that I didn't do my homework? They're just, they're still very young, very innocent, and very concrete in their thinking. So if they say, what did I do, to make this happen? Just reassure them, nothing.
How do you also take care of your own emotions so that you're not making them more anxious? What do adults, let's say adults, because they're going to run into more than just the parent. What do we need to do so that we can regulate that?
That's a great question. You have to take care of yourself. Take care and talk to a therapist. Talk to someone that you trust about what you're feeling, because it's scary for you as well as an adult, as a parent. My child was in this school and there was an active shooter. That's devastating. And so if you need the time to emote, to cry, to, just become angry, make sure you're using coping skills to take care of yourself. Journaling is great. Talking to a therapist, a trusted colleague or friend, and just talking about it, not stuffing it.
Not stuffing it inside.
Yeah.
Dwayne, you wanted to respond to that too?
No, I love everything she was saying. What is the young lady's name?
Kirsten.
Kirsten. I love everything that she said. It's spot on. And when I was looking at the stats from way back in 2008 till today, school shootings are rising. It's not getting lower. It's not diminishing. So that means what we're seeing is going to continue to happen. And in the climate of America today, I think it's just going to continue for many, many reasons. So I do believe what Kirsten said about self-care is so important. But again, all of that stuff is reactionary. We're doing it because something has happened. In addition to everything we're saying, I would also let young people know, listen, there are laws in this country that allow people to carry guns. There are laws that one day when you grow up and you become a senator, a congressman, a Supreme Court justice, a president, a vice president, or whatever it may be, you have the power to change these laws because you know how it makes you feel as a child. And we don't have to this does not have to be. This is a decision that has been made that, yes, we see all of the carnage that is happening, but lawmakers have decided it's not bad enough to enact comprehensive legislation that could ban certain sale of certain firearms that usually are involved in mass shootings. So in addition to the self-care, but also I would say we should talk to them about being proactive. What do we do till we minimize this? So how do we help other people now with self-care, but also how do we help future generations so they don't have to experience the same thing?
Absolutely. If you're just joining us, we're talking about how to talk to children about school shootings without creating additional fear and stress. Our guest is licensed professional counselor Kirsten A. High, and also Dwayne Bryant, who's an international speaker, best-selling author, educational consultant, trainer, and alumni of the FBI Citizens Academy. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. Before we move forward, I want to take a quick call from Kirsten's mother-in-law. Hi,
Hey.
you're on the air.
Hi, I'm Doretha High, and I'm so proud of my daughter-in-law. Today's
Aw.
her birthday, so let me start by saying happy birthday, beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, that is so sweet. And happy birthday to you,
Thank
Kirsten.
you.
Thank you for spending time with us then on your birthday. Absolutely. So my question is, thanks so much for the call. We appreciate that. Lisa, I'm going to bring in Lisa Godley. She's our producer. And because we tried to get someone from the Virginia Department of Education to talk about ways that schools are trained in active shooters. They were not able to make anyone available to us, but they sent us to a website. Now, we purposely wanted to look at it from a statewide position because we did not want to call out any particular school district. So, Lisa, what were you able to discern from the information that they gave you?
Well, under the website for safety and crisis management, here's the information. They say, first and foremost, reassure children that they are safe. Number 2, validate children's feelings. Number 3, make time to talk, because children will have questions. Number 4, keep your explanations developmentally appropriate. For example, early elementary school children need brief, simple information that should be balanced along with reassurances that, they're safe at school and at home. Upper middle school or elementary school and early middle school children will be more vocal, and they'll ask questions about whether they are truly safe when they're at school. Upper middle school and high school students have strong and varying opinions about the causes of violence in school society, and they share their own opinions on how they feel you can prevent this, but we need to emphasize that adults are responsible for keeping them safe. They also talk about reviewing safety procedures with your students, observing children's emotional state, limiting access to television and social media attention during these events, correct the misinformation that they're likely to hear, maintain a normal routine, and finally, talk about steps children and youth can take to make a positive difference. And I think Dwayne spoke a little bit about that a few minutes ago. Yeah.
So what do you think about this social media, keeping them off social media and off of television when something happens? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. They become desensitized.
I'm coming to you, Dwayne.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead,
I feel like I did a study a while ago when I was in undergrad, and we had to take a look at all of the violence in cartoons. There's so much, and we may not even think about it. You have
yes, the Roadrunner would go splat.
Yes. And so fast forward to 2025, there's everything on social media. Everything you can think of. And so children having access to Roblox, there are chat rooms on Roblox, having access to YouTube unattended. There's, subtle messages that come through some of the videos. And I have a strong view on monitoring and keeping things kid friendly and kid safe for children. And even with teenagers, because, there's so much that goes on, from kids being thrown into group chats where they're being bullied on social media to them having access to streamers and influencers who are not really living the life that they're portraying, or if they are, it comes at a cost. And so, protecting our kids is important from social media. And if they can stay away from that for as long as you can keep them, I would say do that.
Do that. Dwayne, you wanted to weigh in?
Oh, 1,000%. So I provide workshops for parents on the impact of social media, and I just added a component on the impact of AI on our young people as well. Social media, first of all, to tell them don't use social media is a good thing, but it's so unrealistic because if they don't have it, their friends have it. They're making false accounts on their friends' phone. If they visit friends' homes, they have it. So I do believe when we look at Instagram, how it affects young teens and young people, but particularly girls, self-esteem, self-image, where they're looking at themselves, not appreciating who they are. Social media has been very destructive. People say, is it a weapon or is it a tool? It's both. However, because the young people's prefrontal cortex is not developed until their mid-20s, they don't understand half of the time what's real and what's not real. So the young lady just mentioned, Kirsten, about the videos. I was in New Orleans for February, and I was doing an award show at for the NFL, and one of the guys who got the award was this guy named NLE Chopper. Now, I didn't know who he was, but I started researching him before the award show, and I'm looking at his videos. He's carrying the MAC-10s, the guns, and he's just like, shoot him. And I was tearing him up on the microphone. And literally, by the time he came up, because I was like, you know what? We need to start having a different message that's constructive versus destroying our community, destroying our neighborhoods, disrespecting our women. And when he came up, he said, you know what? I appreciate the message that you just said because I know I got to do better. He said these words, God has been dealing with me that I need to have a different message. So a lot of these young people know the right way, but they don't make money the right way. He'll make more. Yeah. This brother has over 5 billion download streams. You know how much notoriety and influence that is? But if he was on there talking about doing homework, walking his grandmama to church, reading the Bible, he might have 1 or 2, downloads. Right? Exactly. So the reality is, yeah, absolutely. Our young people are more interested in likes and followers. They think that is the way to wealth, to being popular and famous, even though many of these people with likes and followers are committing suicide or depressed or taking some kind of psychotropic drug or whatever it may be, because we don't have enough real people in their life having real conversations with them. And at a dinner table, you can go to any restaurant today in any state, and you got a family at the table, 2 or 3 of the people are on cell phones versus having conversations.
Absolutely. Dwayne, how much longer can you stay with us? I want to take a few phone calls, but if you need to leave.
Let's take them.
Just take them?
Okay. Let's take them. I'm going to stay until I see the principal wave his hand at the door, and I'm trying to pretend like I ain't looking.
Okay. All right, let's talk to Janet in Williamsburg. Hi, Janet. You're on the air.
Hey, I just wanted to comment that long before social media and internet, we had problems back then, too. My son was 3 or 4 in about 1990, and we lived in a rural area. I visited a woman who'd been recommended as a babysitter, and while we were there, I was talking to her, and her little boy hustled my son over to a big gun case and was trying to impress him. I got my son out of there fast, and we had to talk about what to do if someone wants to get you interested in their guns, because in a rural area, people, they
that's what they do.
And he was a chronically sick kid, so I told him, someone starts trying to show you guns, you tell them your mom forgot about your doctor appointment, and you ask their mom to let you call me, and I'll get you out of there. Before cell phones or any of that stuff, there was this kind of thing going on you needed to warn your children about.
Yeah, I mean, we have to teach our children.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janet, for the call. I appreciate it. I want to play another clip from a young lady that was involved in the Minneapolis shooting. And you'll hear at the end her advice to other students. And she is 9 years old and a 4th grader. June Holeen is her name.
What were you most scared of?
I was scared about if I would get hurt. I was worried about, everybody getting, hurt and injured.
Do you want to go back to school?
Well, I do like school, so I kind of do want to go back. But I am a little bit nervous or scared.
What are you nervous about?
Just what happened, and I know it probably wouldn't happen again, but if it did, that's kind of what I'm nervous about, if it could happen again.
A lot of kids might be scared to go to their school because of what happened at your school. What do you want to tell them?
I'd probably tell them that it's okay to be afraid a little bit, but it's actually kind of rare to what happened, so you don't have to be that worried. And I think you'll do great.
She's in the 4th grade.
Wow.
And she says, I know you might be a little scared, but it probably will be okay.
Yeah. Wow. Even going through that in present time and encouraging another student that it's going to be okay. You'll be a little scared. That's just the resilience of children. It just chokes me up,
Yeah.
Because just how she eloquently put it, you'll be okay. You're going to be a little scared, but you'll be okay. Like, these kids are so strong. And
Yeah.
I was talking with a group of kids who play on a local sports team. And I'm not going to mention too much detail, but they had an incident here locally where there was a disagreement amongst coaches, and the coaches went back to their car and got guns and started shooting during the practice while the kids were there. And so this came to my attention, and they reached out to my husband, and my husband's a counselor as well. And so we talked to them, and the kids still looked scared. The parents looked angry. And I just reassured them, that this wasn't your fault. This is not how we handle conflict. You don't manage conflict through violence. You don't have to get guns or fight. And I'm sorry y'all had to witness this. And it's almost as if they all exhaled. Someone heard them. Someone spoke to them directly about it. That was, aside from their parents. And so, I was encouraging the moms, y'all are doing a great job. You have your kids in these activities and wanting to talk to someone. You're taking the steps to continue to have the talk about how you manage violence, how you manage conflict, how you manage this trauma, because they wanted to go further. And so some of them were still angry, and they moved the practice to another location. But to have that talk with children here in present day in 2025 about coaches who are there to lead and guide and impart wisdom and sportsmanship and leadership are shooting in broad daylight at each other. That just blew my mind.
So we as adults have got to take a look at ourselves also.
Absolutely.
Isn't that right, Dwayne?
Well, listen, I was biting my tongue. First of all, you got some grown men who are supposed to be leaders, who are supposed to be role models. This is why parents allow their children to engage in these activities, because they're entrusting, imparenti loci or whatever it's called. Like, I'm your parent in the absence of your parent.
Right.
And now they're showing the worst behavior. First of all, they all need to be locked up. Everyone who grabbed a gun needs to be locked up. You got a family, that's your problem. Because now I question, what kind of father are you? You can't regulate your emotions.
Right.
You're out at a public venue with children. You know these kids are watching you. This may even be just as devastating, if not more devastating, than the active shooter, because here is a stranger introducing themselves in your world. Now, this time, we have men that we look up to. We have men that ask for our report card. We have men that tell us, give us this and advice. And we're seeing that they don't even have the emotional stability, the maturity to regulate their emotions. So now what we really need is comprehensive men coming in to talk to these kids, because now these boys think, well, is that just what manhood is? It's like, do I just pop off? Because what they did is they just role modeled what happens when you get upset and you get angry. So the young people need to understand this is not okay ever.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not defending your life. You're defending your ego, and you're defending your false pride. That's all you're doing. And so we do have grown males who still are not men running, operating over our children, and they should not even be there. I heard this one guy. I was in Delray Beach, my home in Florida, and there was a football group, a young kid like Pee Wee out there, and this guy was, come on, look, and he was just, I said, hey, who is the adult on the field? Like, you're cursing at the kid. And I'm just watching the other men allow this. No one was checking this man. And so when you do that and you don't check him, you're telling the kid, it's okay to be mistreated. It's okay to be taught that way too. Because then, suck it up. You got to be this how men. No, brother. There's males and there are men. Men need to be teaching boys, not grown males.
Let's talk to Anna in Portsmouth. Hi, Anna. You're on the air.
Hi. Hey, how are y'all?
Hi,
Thank you
okay.
so much for talking about this important topic. This is fantastic.
Thank you.
I wanted to offer up, as a local emergency manager, this is also a great opportunity to kind of think all hazards, right? So having those conversations with your kids about what to do in an active shooter situation is just as important as talking to them about what to do if there's a fire or if there's a hurricane. And there's so many good resources out there. Ready.gov/kids has fabulous templates and kind of like how to start the conversation. And your local emergency managers want to engage, and we want to help support you and make your kids more resilient and make everybody more ready. So,
actually, Anna, and you bring up a really good point, because that also would allow you to, I would think, Kirsten, to be able to couch the conversation in a way that it's not just about shootings, but it's hey, let me talk to you about how you stay safe, in in a lot of different situations.
Yeah.
What is that website again, Anna?
It's ready.gov/kids.
Okay.
And,
all right.
It's all about really adopting that culture of preparedness. I started this, my poor child, God bless her heart, she stuck with her mom as the emergency manager. So, she is used to having those conversations, and, kind of now she's educating her college friends about it. What do we do if? So it's just a great starting point. And just, to continue to communicate within your family, that's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for the call, Anna. We really appreciate it. So, Dwayne, I'm going to come to you for just a few more minutes in terms of what you'd like to let people know about dealing with their children in any violent situation, because we know that particularly in our communities, many of our communities, violence is an everyday thing. Yeah. And so it may not happen in the school yard. It may happen, like you said, on the basketball court or in the football field or any place that children go, but particularly African-American children, helping them to understand that this is not everyone's life.
Yeah, and that's real. So what's interesting is I shared earlier the range of students I work with. From one school, we had a fight in November, and the kids broke it up within 2 minutes. The superintendent was upset. I said, no. It's November. We just had our first fight of the school year. The kids broke it up and were angry with the kids for fighting and said, this is not who we are. So that means they understand the mission. They understand what we're here for. They understand that at Southland College Prep, we're about love. We're about making sure we are our brothers and our sisters' keeper. We respect authority. We're here for college education. We're preparing for not just for these next 4 years. So I think part of it is understanding what is the mission. Let's be very intentional. Now, my other group that I'm working with today, we were having a similar conversation. But again, these boys here are the shooters. They are the ones who don't know how to regulate their emotions. They are the ones who will take your car and your life at the same time. And some of them have done that I'm talking to this very week. So,
hey, Dwayne,
with them, I'm talking to
Dwayne. Yes. Let me ask you a question about that. How do you convince a young person who really has that mindset that they'll take what you got and take your life to turn that around? And can they truly be turned around?
The answer is yes. When I tell you, we just had a session. I wish we can record it. We don't record here because I have so many breakthroughs here with these boys. So I just broke down the Lion King movie and Mufasa to them and showing them it wasn't a movie. This is your real life. There will be scars in your life. Scars are grown men who hate on you because you have a destiny and they're trying to take you out. They will take your father out. It could be your daddy. And so how do you navigate this thing called life in the midst of the craziness that's in your environment? And a lot of the boys talk about mindset. And I asked them, what's the difference of you guys and my students at Southland? And they say mindset. I said, it's not just mindset. It's honestly mindset and environment. Because if I took you out of your environment where shooting is normal, where cursing somebody out is normal, where beating somebody down because you have an argument is normal, and then you'll see, whoa, that's not normal. It's my norm. So I think what we have to do in these instances is we have to give them models. A lot of these people don't even know, the young ladies and myself on this phone don't even exist because they don't see you. We grew up with Cosby. We at least had something to look at. Now they're looking at all kind of everything on social media, on YouTube, and all of this stuff, and that's their norm. Those are their heroes. So, yes, I think the way to impact is consistency, because you can't come on Monday in January and then come back in May and say, hey, guys, I told you in January you could be all you could be. Now go make a difference. Man, that message, you might as well have to save that breath because you're wasting time. But if we have it consistently, I've seen it modeled over the years, different states, different school districts, where we increase school test scores, we decrease suspensions, we eliminate expulsions, but the young people have to buy in to there's a higher order of living, there's a higher order of thinking. If I'm preparing for my future and it's going to be great, then I have to be mindful of what I do in the present, what I say, how I show up, how I treat other people, how I do my academics. And it's all about modeling, consistency, intentionality. And also, we got to change the paradigm. I also teach history. Well, you got to remember who we are and who we were. This norm today is not who we were. We were building civilization.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
became this. This is not who we are.
Absolutely. Dwayne Bryant, international speaker, best-selling author, educational consultant, trainer, and so much more. Thank you so much for taking your time. I know we took your whole lunch 30 minutes.
Listen, I was eating everything Kirsten said, so this was better than food right here.
We really appreciate you, and we will have you back on the show soon, okay?
Listen, Lisa knows when she calls me, it's like somebody putting up the bat signal. I'm coming. I may not get right now, but I'm coming.
Okay, we'll make that.
All right.
We
Y'all
really
have a great
appreciate
day.
it. You take care now. All righty. Bye-bye. Let's talk to Joan in Smithfield. Hi, Joan. You're on the air.
Hi. I just wanted to say I grew up in a very integrated school system, blue-collar neighborhood, and I have children and grandchildren. And I was listening to someone on NPR last week, I think it was, and he brought up the fact that if we think about it, we all love our children and grandchildren so much, but we should also love your children and your friends' children and all children. They're all our responsibility. And we should be ashamed of, as a country, that we have let this get to this point. There should be no active shooter things. There should be no AK whatevers. And it sickens my heart. All children are our children. And I think that's really important to consider.
Thank you,
It breaks my
Joan.
heart as much as it does anyone.
Yes.
When any of these shootings take place. And when Newtown happened, I thought, oh my gosh, this has got to be the turning point. And it did not. So we need to vote. We need to write our congressmen. We need to teach our children to vote and to get involved.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the call, Joan. We really appreciate that. And she's absolutely right. I mean, we have to take some action.
We do. All children are love. And I love what Joan said as far as it's not just love for your children and grandchildren, but it's the love of others' children and grandchildren. And it was something I wanted to comment on too with what Mr. Dwayne was saying as far as the community coming together and loving on our kids and being that example. I think it may have changed and shifted when both parents started working and people weren't as readily available because I remember growing up, I grew up with my grandparents in the home, young parents. And so with my grandparents in the home, that was an extra layer of community. And then the church, there was, family and support from church, and then the neighbors. Hey, I seen Kirsten and them down the street, So just having that layer of...
you got in trouble before you got home.
Exactly. Right. For real. I seen her in that building over there. I'm like, why y'all telling on me? But that was love, and that was just not looking out for your children, but looking out for the children, all the children in the community, looking out for your fellow man. But I was going to mention how it's important to be consistent. In addition to counseling, I'm working with another agency, but we have another agency, that partners with our agency where we work with kids 2 to 3 times a week. We go into the community and we show up and we're consistent. and we're working on those mental health issues. But it starts, as Mr. Dwayne was saying too, with your thinking, your mindset. Everything starts with a thought. And so if these young boys that he's working with, or any of the children, that we have an influence on, if they know that they are loved, they are safe, you matter, what you say is important, that changes their mindset about themselves and how they go out into this world and how others view and see them. And I love what he said about the one school where they broke up the fight and said, this is not what we do.
Yeah.
This
because they had gotten that mindset.
Right.
We only have a couple minutes left, but I want to ask you, when do you know that you need to seek professional help? If your child has gone through some sort of traumatic, be it at school, be it wherever, situation, and you've done all the things we talked about, you let them cry, you've let them emote, etc. Is there a trigger point, or is there something that you should be looking for to say, hey, I need to find a professional?
Yeah, I would say if their behavior has been affecting their school performance, if they're involved in things and they no longer want to do it, their behavior in the home. So just if their whole life has been disrupted in those areas, home, school, community, and I would say if it's gone on for about 2 weeks, yes, consult professional counseling.
And how do you find what's the best way to find a counselor? I mean, you look for someone that specializes in children.
Yeah.
Is that?
I would say if they're little kids, like 1 to 2, I would say like from ages of maybe 1 to 5, a play therapist. I highly recommend a play therapist because they are able to create an environment for little kids cognitively to be able to work with them on what they're dealing with. I would say 5 and up, they can seek out a trauma therapist. You can do a Google search and put your zip code in, put whatever the situation in. If you want a female counselor, male counselor, group therapy, it'll come right up. If you're looking for us, we're at www.e3centerllc.com.
E3 Center. And you specialize in all types of
yes,
trauma?
Trauma, yes. Trauma, depression, anxiety, stress, anger. We'll be starting an anger management group next month. So, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. For young people?
For adults right now.
For adults,
yeah.
Okay.
We will be building one for young people soon, but right now.
Are you going to have the coaches?
We need them. They're welcome. They come on in. Leave your weapons at home.
Kirsten, hi. We really appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much. And happy birthday. Again, we hope that you truly enjoy your day, and we will be having you back also. Audience, our children are our future, and we want to guide them through life realities with compassion and with love. And we hope this show helps you with the young people in your life. You can listen again by going to whro.org/anotherview, or you can go to Spotify or any place that you go for your podcast listening pleasure. Next week on Another View, guess what? The ladies are back. It's the Another View Roundtable. We haven't heard from them in quite a while, so they will be joining us next week. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer. And Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Make it a great weekend, everybody. And let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.